We've discussed light now a few times in our videos, but it's still really hard to visualize what happens when you actually see something. I want you to look around the room where you are now and just look at different objects. If you see something, that means that light is bouncing off that object and coming into your eye. But all the different light is different colors and different brightnesses depending on what you're looking at. And what determines that? It's all a bit confusing. But we should know by now that light is a wave, kind of like a wave in the ocean. But it's really hard for us to really believe that because it doesn't look like a wave. We can't see any wave shapes, we just see colors. So today what I want to do is I want to explain the fact that light is a wave using a more easy to understand type of wave, sound waves. Sound is also a wave. So today we're really going to dig into that, and hopefully by the end of today's episode you'll have a whole new way of understanding what light is and why we see it the way we do. Let's go, have a look. So in order to explain light using sound, I'm going to use a keyboard here because it's really useful for that. Because on the left hand side of a keyboard we have the low pitched notes. Let's play one. Yeah, it's a low pitched note, which in physics we call low frequency. And if you look at the sound wave, you will see that a low pitched or low frequency note has a long wave. Yeah, we say it has a long wavelength. And if we take a high pitched sound, we'll say like this one, it has a really short wavelength. So all that means is those sound waves that are pushing and pulling the air, when they hit my ear from the low wavelength sounds, yeah, or the low frequency, it hits my ear only every now and again. The wave comes in and they go boom, 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 boom. Whereas when I hit a high frequency note, that wave that hits my ear, the air pressure goes happens very often. And that's what our brain encodes. They're saying that like my eardrum is vibrating over and back slowly or fast. And what happens if I mix a few notes together? If I play a mixture, instead of playing one note, then another note, then another note, I play them all together. We can hear that, we can hear the difference. We're getting all these different frequencies and different wavelengths of sound waves, and we can decode them and we can hear what's going on. So what has this got to do with light? Well, let's think about the rainbow. There's 7 colors in the rainbow. There's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. They're the 7 colors that make up the rainbow. There's also 7 notes in the scale, the normal major scale, the do, re, mi's. You might have heard them. There's your 7 notes. And then it starts again. So light is a wave, like we said. And low frequency light, which has the longest wavelength, is red light. Okay, so the red light is a very long wave, whereas blue light is right on the other end of the spectrum and it has a very short wave. So if we think about low pitched sound having a long wavelength, well, we can kind of think that's kind of like red light, because red light has a long wavelength. Whereas if we think about blue light, which has a very short wavelength, just like high pitched sounds have a very short wavelength. So we can almost think that when we hear, yeah, a low-pitched sound, that's kind of like seeing red light. And when we hear a high-pitched sound, it's kind of like seeing blue light. And all the other colors and all the other sounds are in between. So let's think about that. I want you to, if you can, look at something red in the room, or go and find something red. So look at something red and listen to the music, the sound that comes from your speakers. Okay, so take a look at that red thing and listen to this note. Okay, imagine the light waves coming from that red object. They're hitting your eyes and they're low frequency light waves, just like the sound hitting your ear is a low frequency sound wave. Now try and find something blue. See if you can find something blue, because blue and violet are up at the other end of the spectrum. Okay, take a look at something blue if you can find it. Look at that blue thing, look really closely and listen to the sound coming out. Hear that? It's a high frequency sound. Your eardrum is bouncing really, really fast. Okay, but imagine the waves of light coming into your eye. They're also really high frequency. Okay, so try and imagine those waves. Now what I want to do is, I want you to look at a red thing and a blue thing at the same time, if you can. Try and put them in front of you, a red thing and a blue thing. Okay, look at the two of them at the same time and listen to the sound that comes out of the speakers. Imagine that. You can hear the two sounds mixed up together and you're seeing the light, the two different colors of light at the same time. So you can really imagine that there's these waves coming in and they're doing something like this. They're actually, something is happening in your eyes. Your brain is able to detect these different lengths of waves and it's just assigning them a color. Okay, so interesting. That's how we can see the difference between color and hear the difference between sound. But what happens if things get a little bit more complicated? We can hear the difference between something loud and something quiet. Yeah, we can understand the difference when we hear a loud noise or a quiet noise. What's the difference between bright light and dim light? Well, it's very similar in the waves. It's all about how tall or how short the waves are. So a very loud noise, yeah, very loud sound, has a very tall wave. And a very quiet sound has a very short wave. It's not tall, it's very short. The same thing is true for light. If we have really bright light, so imagine a really bright red light, yeah? That would be like really loud, low-pitched sound. So imagine that being bright red light. And now imagine a quiet blue light. Well, a quiet blue light is like, a dim blue light is like a quiet, high-pitched noise. So what I want to ask you to do now is, I want to ask you to look at this little painting here. I found this lovely painting online, and I think this might get the point across really well. We're going to look at this painting. Yeah, do you see it there? It's a whole mixture of different colours. We can see the lovely red trees on the left-hand side, and we can see this kind of blue water over on the right-hand side. And imagine as your gaze moves around this painting, start up on the left-hand side here where it's all red, okay? And imagine those light waves just coming into your eyes. They're low frequency light waves, just like this sound that you're hearing. And now kind of move around the picture. And as you move around over to the blue, everything's a bit more higher frequency. So the waves that you're seeing through your eyes are behaving very similar to the waves that you're hearing here through your ears with the sound. So if we were to look at the entire picture all at the one time, it would be something quite complicated. It would be, you would have the blues would sound like this, and you would have the reds sounding like this here. You have this whole mixture that's going on. So we can look at an image and we can imagine now what those light waves might sound like if they were sound. So I want you to try and do that sometime when you're out and about somewhere in a room. Look around, okay? Try and not hear anything and look around and imagine what the light might sound like if you could hear it. So remember, those reds are those low frequencies and those blues and violets are those high frequencies, and everything else is in between. So give that a shot sometime, and I think you'll get a whole new appreciation of how to imagine light waves. So I hope that helped you to get a different sort of a way of thinking about light. Because it's really crazy that these colours are actually just vibrating waves moving around the place. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, guys. I really enjoyed it, and I'm already looking forward to seeing you on the next one.